Hello, my name's Rhiannon Grant, and today I'd like to tell you a bit about my book, Between Boat and Shore, which was published recently by Manifold Press. It's a romance story between two women, and it's set on Neolithic Orkney in the Stone Age, about 4000 BC. It's a small story, a local story, a story about how people fall in love, a story about how communities react, and a story about leadership and taking responsibility within a community. To give you a flavour of it, I'd like to read you a section from the beginning of chapter 2. Our main character, Aleuks, arrived last night in the middle of a storm in rather traumatic circumstances. She usually travels in her small boat along the coasts and islands of the North Atlantic. And she arrived last night in this very northern village, in the dark, without really knowing what was going on, and has ended up staying, almost accidentally, in the house of Trebbi, a woman who actually she's starting to warm to. So here she is, in bed in the morning. Aleuks reached consciousness gradually, becoming aware of a stiffness in her body and unfamiliar sounds before she was able to remember where she was and how she had arrived there. The stone-framed bed, similar in design to wooden ones she had seen before, was surprisingly warm once her body had heated it up, and she found that she was in no hurry to throw off the furs and climb out of it. However, something had woken her. As she started to get herself together, she concluded that actually 4 things had woken her. A cooler draught and some extra light coming into the house from the doorway where someone had pinned back the leather hanging. The soft voices of Trebbi and Heln as they agreed on acceptable foods to eat first thing in the morning, and her bladder, which was uncomfortably full. Eventually, it was the last one which forced her out of bed. Aleuks peeled off the warm layers until she could swing her legs out and stand. "Hello," Heln said, and came to her for a quick hug. He usually adapted well to being in a new community, but in previous arrivals, he had also spent lots of time with the ever-curious Gwery, whose habit of asking questions about everything made it easy to get to know people and places and cultures. They would both miss Gwery. She decided not to mention that. The death had been a month ago, and it wasn't the moment to reopen wounds. "Have you eaten?" she asked instead. Heln nodded. "Are you hungry?" I asked. "I will be soon," Aleuks said. "First I need to piss." She looked to Trebbi, who said, "There's a rubbish pit to the left, round towards the back of the house. Most of us just squat over that." "Thanks," Aleuks said, and made her way outside. The place was easily identified, by smell as well as sight, and she was soon much more comfortable. On her way back to the door, she took some time to notice the village, since she'd seen almost nothing in the dark. Today, the storm was nothing more than a stiff breeze, and the sun shone. Trebbi's house was one of perhaps 8 or 10. Aleuks wasn't sure if all the buildings were in use, or if they were all houses, each with a roof of reeds and stone walls. Next to Trebbi's house, a fenced area kept some sheep on a patch of grass, or perhaps the fence kept the dogs out, since Aleuks had already seen 2 wandering free. She stepped back indoors. Trebbi offered her some more porridge, which she accepted, and some boiled meat, which she declined. "At home we don't eat meat until the evening," she explained. "I know it's common further north, but I've just never got used to it." Trebbi nodded. "It'll keep," she said. "When you've eaten, I need to go round to Dru's house. His father's house, really, and probably his now, and I think you should both come with me. Everyone will hear the story soon if they haven't already, and they'll want to meet you." "We'll want to meet them too," Aleuks agreed.